Hey, well, speaking of things that Gavin is wrong about, next up on the list we have Danger Us.
How am I wrong about it? Yeah.
Well, you ranked it at the bottom, and it's pretty high up in the ranking. So.
Oh, yeah. Gavin's super wrong, and it's the best song on the album.
What? No.
I'm going to let you two go at it, because Mike, you ranked this number one, Gavin ranked this at the bottom.
A song that starts off with a killer riff, it has tons of rock swagger. Like, it's just a rock fucking song, and it slams.
But we shouldn't reward Paul for what we shit on Gene for.
I don't shit on Gene for that, though, so I can reward both of them. Yeah, I'm the one guy who doesn't hate Gene lyrics. Like I said, I do not want songs about apartheid.
No, but there has to be a happy medium.
Dicks and tits and stuff.
Yeah, but there's a happy medium between Danger You, Danger Me, Danger Us, and like Peter Gabriel's Biko, right? There's got to be something in the middle there.
Yeah, I think the happy medium is Paul Stanley making dad jokes. He's got a 15-year-old kid at this time. It's appropriate.
In the context of like a cock rock album, I've never taken an issue with that line, and I know, believe me, I get it. I know so many fans are just appalled at like how dare Paul say that, but like when you're talking to like a chick or like sexting or whatever Paul's doing, like lyrically, whatever you want to call that, like flirting
you will never get laid if you say to a woman, "Danger you, danger me, danger us."
No,
that is incel territory right there, my friend.
But not to open a whole other can of worms, because I really don't want to. But like, let's just use the term. It's not that you're talking to a chick that way, because Paul knows that this album is going to primarily be listened to the male fans. It's more along the lines of like locker room talk. It's Paul talking to his bros, like, "Yeah, man, I was talking to this hot chick, and I was like, danger you, danger me, danger us."
And then his friend said, "You're fucking lying. That didn't happen. You're full of shit."
That's what guys do. I know me and my friends, we've all said stuff. We're like, "Yeah," and I was like this, and we're like, "Dude, you never said that." I don't think it's the best lyric in the history of life, but I just thought it was a little bit clever. It works with the swagger and the concept of the song.
Mike, your ship is sinking fast.
No, there's actually there's a fair amount of research to support the core thesis of this is how men communicate within all male groups. Is we tend to have that one-upmanship of we say obviously false things in order to inflate our status within the group. So he's not wrong.
But how does?
Thank you, Steve.
I've had a lot of.
Why must you always ally in the worst situations?
Yeah, I've had like lots of, crude, like quote unquote locker room talk style discussions with, men, women, and friends of mine who identify as neither, and I have never heard from anyone a line as pitifully dumb as "danger you, danger me, danger us."
You know why they went with a line like that, Gavin?
Has anyone ever heard "Read My Body"? Has anyone ever heard that song?
That song's a masterpiece.
So
that's an S-rank masterpiece, sir.
Gavin, the reason this lyric is so dumb is because it was a Walmart exclusive. They had to keep it tame.
Okay.
So Joey, how does this stack up in comparison to "Read My Body"? Which is the superior masterpiece?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. How could we possibly be criticizing Kiss over their lyrics? It's like we know going in who we're listening to, right? I think we do, right?
Oh yeah.
Let's put the X and Sex was a good
Paul
song.
Stanley. Yeah, coming from Paul Stanley, this is right on par with what he sings about. This is like you said. Let's put the X and Sex. "Read My Body." It's quintessential Paul Stanley, and I think it's a great song. I think it's actually a really good hook. It's one of the times, again, on this album that maybe they don't necessarily go for that 70s, retro, so blatant retro vibe. And I think Paul wrote a song and it fits with the style of what he's writing at that time. And I think it just works. It's a fun song.
But Paul has these occasional moments of, talking about getting laid and da-da-da. But they're also like "Take Me" is, I think, the finest example of
"Put your hands in my pocket, grab into my rocket." Pure poetry.
Feels so good to see you receive. It's not as
slightly smarter, right?
Exactly.
It's a little bit more thought out. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree, of course.
Yeah, and room service, right? That's another like, it's a nitty gritty song about fucking in a hotel room, but like it's got cadence to it. It's got you can tell that it was a little more than him saying the word dangerous weird one day, and then this song kind of like just kind of coming out of him, and also his, I don't want to be one of those guys to kind of harp on Paul for his voice, but you kind of hear the
cracks?
literal cracks starting to appear in his voice, like the light the dynamite line and things like that.
And did you not listen to the rest of the album before this song? The cracks were already there.
Oh, they were already there, but this was, to me, this was, and one other song that we haven't got to yet, kind of the most apparent. I do, however, like the line where he says, "Passion play can make a lonely heart bleed," because it made me think of the Jethro Tull album, A Passion Play, which is a super underrated album. And then I just imagined Paul sitting around listening to, I don't know if anyone knows that. Any Jethro Tull fans here? I know we were just talking about Poison, but
Yep.
Yeah, man.
I keep
the
trying
rabbit
to
who
listen to
lost
Jethro
his
Tull and
spectacles.
getting underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Oh, you just haven't found your album yet, Steve.
I'm
Listen
telling
to
you,
A
man.
Passion Play.
Crest of a Knave, best album.
Oh, Steve, this is Gavin here.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Crest of a Knave. Don't do it.
What a Grammy.
I'm so good at like finding the right albums by bands that Gavin loves to troll him by saying I love Crest of a Knave, Calling All Stations, Jazz from Hell.
Steve, Crest of a Knave is a more metal album than Metallica. It beat them out for a Grammy. That's how fucking
nice.
metal that album is.
Well, and I do love that.
Steve, do you not know the history of that? Or?
Yeah, I have heard that bit of trivia before. I'd forgotten that, though.
And I do love that even Ian Anderson was like, wait a minute. Why? No, we should not have won this. This is not like, he didn't even go to the Grammys because he was like, there's no way in hell that it's not a metal album. But that's for my Jethro Tull podcast.
So
I actually wanted to clarify something if I can real quick, Greg.
Yes.
Just because Gavin mentioned a lyric from Take Me, and I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm just curious what other panelists say. Because he said, feels good to see you receive. And I've heard people say that's the line. I've always been on the side of he's saying Lucille. So I'm just curious what other people here today say.
I used to think it was feels so good to see you this year.
See, I thought it was Lucille, like he was talking to a chick named Lucille, and then that also rhymes with feel. So I don't know, like what do you guys think? I'm just curious the other people's take.
I heard Lucille. I don't know. I don't care that much because that doesn't save that much of the song for me because I don't.
I'm just curious as a deep Kiss nerd. I also think it's sort of a reference to Little Richard, just like Lucille. And
also BB King's guitar was Lucille, so kind of like old school rock and roll. That's how I took it.
Gavin's saying he's wrong. I just want to nerd out to Kiss. That's all this is right now.
Also,
I'm in the right place.
Do you want a fun Kiss lyric game?
Yeah, what you got?
Listen to "Got Love for Sale" from Love Gun, and there's that backing, the backing "How love will travel,"
right.
Like that line.
Yeah.
Think of it as hear it. Try and hear it as "I love this apple."
So
and that song. I love this apple. I got love for sale.
So that's Steve's favorite Kiss song?
Love for Sale?
Yeah, well, I just remember there were multiple podcasts where we had to delay recording because Steve had a mouthful of apples. So he just
right.
That's 100% the weirdest conversation I've ever had on any podcast.
Look, I just had a bag of apples and we did multiple Kiss podcasts in a row.
Yeah, Joey,
I was hungry.
I suppose you're lucky my Peter Criss story didn't get written for this episode.
I would have loved to hear it. Yes, I have, of course.
Oh.
So I'm going to get us back to Dangerous for a minute because we still have three people who haven't talked about it.
We have to.
So I'm actually going to say some nice things about this song and then tear it a new asshole. So
New Gene Simmons' asshole.
yeah, Gene Simmons' asshole. So I
Stone
do.
Cold Kiss classic.
Okay, so so I heard from a number of sources that this was the. Is someone eating an apple? So I heard from a number of sources that this was the first song written for the album, and for the longest time, all the Kiss fans knew that the reason a new Kiss album wasn't being made was because Paul Stanley didn't feel like it. He thought that it wasn't going to go well. He was upset with how Psycho Circus did, and he didn't want to do a new album. But what I suspect happened was when they were recording all those Kiss covers, he came up with a riff. And it's like, man, this riff is so fucking cool. And so he wrote a riff and a hook. And he's like, fuck yeah, I wrote a cool riff and a cool hook. And then he wrote an entire album around that riff and hook, but he forgot to write a verse around that hook and that riff. And so the verses are, like, pretty bad, except when they go back to the riff. I don't like the descending guitar line. I think the intro of the song is very good, where it's a little bit more muted and flows from the previous track very well. I think the chorus is very catchy. I think the guitar tone is great, but it's a half-written song. It's a great chorus hook, a great riff, and then everything else is kinda meh, which is, hey, welcome to Sonic Boom, the album. Jamie, I told you that in a private conversation, but I just wanted to say it out loud so you could cry before you talk. It's your turn.
Yeah, it doesn't cut as deep as it did when you messaged me it.
Well, that's because you were prepared. You knew it was coming.
The deepest.
Yeah, I suppose I was prepared, but I expected to feel more upset hearing it be verbalized. But the written word is just.
But then
so
you heard
much
Greg's
harsher, it
goofy
seems.
voice, and it's
Right.
just, it's fine.
You hear the little nasaliness, like, whatever.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. As Greg knows, I do love this song. I still think it's average in comparison to other songs on the album, but it probably is my second favorite hook on the album. It's like completely stupid. One of the dumbest lyrics of all time, which is saying something considering the catalogue. But it's just brilliant. It's just, I remember the first time I heard it, I already knew what the chorus would be as soon as it started, because it's so Kiss by numbers, but not in my opinion, not in a dreadful way. The riff's really cool, but it's a real shame that they seem to use the exact same super thin guitar tone from the first album. It's much. We have higher gain amps now. Just bloody use them, and let's hear some more crunch on there, because it sounds super thin for how gnarly the riff is to me, anyway. But yeah, I have a bunch of issues with the production on this record.
But I feel like that's, if anything, the biggest homage to early Kiss albums is
Shit production.
a guitar tone that you just wish was a little thicker, especially for the first three albums.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, Greg is right though. The production is really, really shit. I am going to segue now because I have to just get it off my chest. It really annoys me that they said that this was going to be, a true old school and they were going to do all the analog stuff and whatnot. But it's one of the most digital sounding Kiss records. I mean, there aren't that many Kiss records recorded digitally, I suppose, but it sounds super digital. Like the album sounds like Pro Tools. It doesn't sound like tape at all.
Yeah, I agree. The album, production-wise, sounds god-awful. I think Paul, as a producer, listen, I get it. He wants full control after the stuff that went on with Psycho Circus, and they don't want to pay a full-time producer. I understand why they did it, but I can only imagine what this and Monster could have been, possibly with a really, really good producer that would have maybe weeded out some of the stuff and just sonically made it sound better.
Oh,
Yeah.
if they had brought Kramer back. A Kiss Eddie Kramer 2009 album could have been,
What do you guys?
Yeah,
think
I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah, like a comparable album, Kiss or another band.
Alice Cooper's Dirty Diamonds.
That's a great album. I love
No,
that
it
album.
isn't.
I do like that album. I do like that album.
Okay, well then, Dragontown.
Great album.
Love that one.
Welcome to My Nightmare.
Okay.
Needs more Kesha.
I was just trying to hear. I was just honestly trying to hear Sonic
Yeah.
Boom through like a different ear lens. don't know what that would be called. But I was just curious, like, to see, what if it sounded like the third Eurythmics album, and then I'd be like, oh, that's.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I was just curious. I just wanted to hear other people's thoughts. It wasn't like calling you guys out on anything.
I think my biggest gripe with this album as a whole is that it feels half-cooked. I feel like the songs needed some extra polish. I think they should have brought in outside writers. And I think the idea of, like, they said, we're going to do no ballads on this album isn't true of what Kiss is. Like, Kiss was never, like, balls to the wall, kick-ass rock band 24/7. They always had the weird twists and turns on pretty much every album. Going back as far as, like, the second album with Going Blind. Like, they
Life in the Forest.
Life in the Woods.
Life in the Woods.
But, like, they always had those weird twists and turns. That's what Kiss was about. And so to act like they're ACDC, you're like, well, we're just balls to the wall, kick-ass. That's not what you are. That's not what we love about the band, or maybe that's what a lot of people do. But I think this album feels like it's just not quite there. It's like a baked potato that just needs to go in the oven just a little bit longer. Julian, how do you feel about baked potatoes?
Just use the microwave.
Yeah, you just said ballads, and I just want to respond to that by saying, listen to the ballads on Live to Win.
Great
End
songs.
Of subject.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree
that's
with you,
why.
Julian.
Dangerous. It's just middle of the road. It's, the fun, dumb Kiss music that I loved at 14. So it's, I ranked it appropriately for that. I think the music track's really cool as well. It's cheesy as hell. It's pure Kiss, and go figure. I've just insulted Poison earlier. I mean, what really is the difference between this sort of song and the sort of stuff that Poison does? So that's just the contradiction that's in my head. That being said, one last point on this is Never Enough was the third and final single off this album. Dangerous should definitely have been that third and final single, just to stay completely away from the Poison question.
What was the second single after Modern Day?
So yeah.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm just curious
song.
because I put this song at number 1 on the album, and I'm literally the only person in the world that I'm aware of whose favorite song on Sonic Boom is Dangerous. Who ranked it the second highest, Greg?
That would be a tie between Joey and myself, both giving it 8 points.
So 8 points would mean fourth, right? Number 4? Yeah.
No one put it in last place other than me?
Just you?
Wow.
That's just fourth place.
I mean, look, I think the thing is, the fourth place song I said has trash verse and is half cooked with dumb lyrics. So if that's fourth place, that's my stance on the album. So it's like, how high a praise is that? I really wish this song is close to being great. It's such a good hook. It's such a great riff. I want it to be great, but it's not. And it bums me out. And the dog is bummed out too.
That's mine.
Well, hey, speaking of number 1 songs on the album, next up is Steve's first place song on the album. We've got Stand next on the list. Steve, as someone who values our friendship, the song that's all about, like, the bassist and, like, the kind of shitty lead singer, like, trading off vocals about how much they love each other, it means a lot to me that you rank this as number 1. So
Okay.
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome. Okay, yeah, reading my notes. It was weird because this came out of Nobody's Perfect, and I was like, this sounds like the same song, but it really improved once it got going. I liked the vocal harmonies. There was I don't hate the production on this album. I think, like, modern, heavily digital production is a good thing, and making things sound bad and old isn't necessarily an improvement. Had some good bass runs, and this song just kept growing on me as I listened to it, and it got to that weird gang outro. I was like, what? This song should be over by now, but it just keeps on doing strange things. Okay, this is pretty cool. I'm into this.
Yeah, I ranked it the second highest, so I'll go next. This is very much like everything on this album, for the most part, aside from maybe Dangerous and Say Yeah, feels completely contrived, forced, and calculated, including this song. But the thing is, I like the message of it so much. We're like, I know it's so pandering, but I don't care. Because Kiss singing about the power of friendship and just like, yeah, these are my best buds, and I'm gonna stand up for them, and we're gonna, stick together because shonen anime and friendship. I'm just like, I know you're lying through your fucking teeth, but damn it, I love that message so much. Where even though I know you're lying and calculated, I love that soccer anthem chorus. I love the riffs. I love the trade-offs. I love when Paul goes, ooh. It's like it's so forced, but I love it. And it's like, yeah, you pandered to me so hard, and the pandering worked on this track. So, yeah, I like it. 9 points. Mike, how'd you feel about this?
I'll stand by your side on... No, I mean, I'll stand by half your side on that. No, I'll stand by like 80% of your side. Who cares? I don't
Some part of your side.
I like this song. I did rank it second from the bottom, but not because I dislike it. I'm just the guy who loves this album the most. I also want to stand by half of Steve's side. I think Sonic Boom sounds pretty good, so I don't have that issue. But where I won't stand by his side is I don't like a lot of the modern, very digitally sounding. I mean, I know things are recorded digital. That's not my issue. But it's the really synthetic stuff that I don't necessarily love. But I think Sonic Boom sounds pretty solid for what it is. Stand was a fun song, though. I mean, Greg, I get what you're saying, where it's pandering. Just, the Gene and Paul have to share a song, and that's what the fans want. And, just friendship and, we're buds and we're a tight unit. And I think that's fun, though. Again, that's just kind of what Kiss fans wanted. A shout it out loud, just a song with the two main guys of the band, both showing up on it. And
in fairness, it's one of the first, explicitly, songs about friendship in the catalog. They have a lot of songs about believing in yourself
Steve.
and community.
It's not a sex song. It's a friendship song.
And
Nice.
and
you ranked it at the bottom, of course.
Right, of course, Mike ranked it at the bottom because he likes sex more than friendship.
More than friendship, just because I don't have sex with my friends, but I don't know. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, if you get married, you'll have sex with your
way more
best
friendship
friend.
in my life than sex. But what?
If you get married, then you have sex with your best friend.
I've never been married, so. But yeah, in terms of what I want out of music, I would say sex, friendship,
Rock and roll.
and then songs about Persian rugs, and then songs about apartheid.
So Julian,
Having sex with your friends on a Persian rug during apartheid.
During apartheid.
Julian, I don't have a clever transition statement. How do you feel about this song?
I like it. It's anthemic, but come on, lyrics like "Stand by my side, I'll be next to you."
When you
No
need
shit,
me.
Sherlock. And
Just look over your shoulder.
it's like the "God Gave Rock and Roll to You" 2 song on the album. It's grand and sweeping. It's
Even with the
full
big
of
vocal
glorious,
breakdown.
cliched sound bites. The one thing I don't like about this song are Paul's call-outs and refrains. Those things just drive me nuts. It's like he's singing,
Greg.
and then, just look over your shoulder. Can you feel it? Can you hear it? And I'm like, can you shut up?
Yeah, they're so forced. You're so right.
Yeah. So Joey, what are your thoughts on this one then? Because you ranked it a little bit towards the bottom, 5 points.
Yeah, when I first heard the song, I actually hated it when the first listen through on Sonic Boom. When the chorus kicked in and had that lazy feel to it, I just was totally taken out of the chorus and the song. I really liked the verses. I kind of liked the trade-offs that, like we were saying before. That's Kiss, Gene and Paul trading off. It kind of felt good and it felt right. And then the chorus kicked in. It was just like, ugh, there's no hook. It's just like this drony type of, lyric. It just didn't sit well for me. But then actually, when I listened back to it for this, I actually appreciated it a little more. It was actually lower on my list originally. I have it listed, I guess, somewhere in the middle, I think 7 or 6 or 7 maybe. And it grew on me a little bit with the listen to recently, but it's still something about that chorus, and especially like Julian just said, with the shout outs at the end, in between Paul's kind of it was almost like, you know what, something's missing. Let me go in and add some of my Paulisms and, in between every one of these choruses. And it just feels like a little forced to me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think this entire album feels forced to me, but I will say I do appreciate at least that vocal breakdown as being creative in the sense that it's not just straightforward rock like the rest of the album. It actually felt like there was at least that creativity in the arrangement. Gavin, how did you feel about this one?
This song is the bastard stepchild of I from The Elder, and it is the Bizarro World version of You Wanted the Best from Psycho Circus. I almost put this song as my number one, just because of how novel it is. But obviously I didn't. I ended up putting it at number 7, which is where it belongs. It's better than Hot and Cold. It's better than When Lightning Strikes. It's better than Dangerous. But one of my listen-throughs of this album, I about fell on the floor laughing, having the image in my head of Gene and Paul backstage. You know, maybe it's Madison Square Garden, maybe it's the Forum at LA, you know, and they're looking into each other's eyes, seeing the makeup around, seeing the effects that age has had over their long career on each other's faces, and reflecting back on all the times they've had together. And they just sing this song together to each other backstage, just a cappella, just looking into each other's eyes. And then they go out and they play a good rock and roll show. I just love that image.
They're doing it a cappella because Vinnie Vincent has the guitar backstage elsewhere, playing by himself.
So I'm going to read a quote from a chat I had with Gavin earlier this week about this song, because I think this quote sums it up so well. Kiss singing about friendship is less authentic than Kiss singing about being a libertarian. Jamie, what are your thoughts on this one?
When the date for the podcast was set, I thought, oh great, I haven't heard Sonic Boom in ages. And like I mentioned at the start of the show, because this was the first new Kiss album, I kind of went back and thought about like how I felt about the album at the time. And I remember at the point of release, Stand was my favourite song on the album because it didn't sound as much like 70s Kiss. It sounded kind of a little bit new, though the mention that it sounds a little bit like the sister song for You Wanted the Best is quite interesting, because I always thought it sounded somewhere between You Wanted the Best and Raise Your Glasses, which is another track that I really like. So yeah, I've always really liked this song. I still think there's 3 better on the album, but I've always liked it. I like Paul and Gene when they do the trade-offs. Yep, that arrangement in the middle section is really cool with the a cappella bit. But yeah, it makes me feel really pumped. So yeah, I like it.
Well, hey, any other comments on Stand before we move on?
They should have done it live, god damn it.
Oh, hey, we're at the number 3 song in the ranking, and my number 1 on the album.
I'm sorry.
We've got All for the Glory next on the list.
You are shitting me.
Awesome song.
Great song.
My number 2.
My number 2.
Wait a minute. Really?
I mean, I get that's not. I knew that wasn't going to sit well with most people, but I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's my number 2 also.
Oh my god.
Gavin, I'm there with you. It's 3rd from the bottom.
Yes, Steve and Gavin, you can go first about why this song is shitty.
Gavin?
Paul Stanley fundamentally does not understand what Peter Criss was going for with songs like Baby Driver and Hooligan. And therefore,
I think he does. I think he doesn't care, and that's why the song is what it is. I think he understands very much what Peter was going for and doesn't give a shit.
Now, was this album would have come out after One for All, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That hook. That's explicitly a dig.
Yeah.
There's no way that hook is not a dig.
Yeah. What are you guys talking about?
The chorus hook, all for one, just saying that over and over again.
Over and over in the obvious, I mean, even more so than When Lightning Strikes is kind of aiming for that vaguely Ace feel. This is just unapologetically
Black Diamond. Black Diamond 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh no, I think it's more
Black Diamond 2. Every time we do it, it gets worse.
It's Hooligan, it's Dirty Living, it's Baby Driver, but beat over the head with a crowbar, and then kind of like pushed out into the world.
So like Peter Criss does to people when he sees them on the street.
Exactly.
Was that Oz he was in?
Yes. Oz.
Oh yeah.
Killed the guy with a baseball bat. Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, this song
that
was
in here
just terrible, I thought.
Steve, you also thought this was terrible. What do you think?
My general take on this song is if you're gonna sing a song that you had Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons write for you, you should have Paul Stanley write the lyrics and Gene Simmons write the music. Or better yet, have Paul Stanley write the lyrics and Paul Stanley write the music.
Good news for the next album. That's what they did.
All right, well there you go.
And look how that album turns out.
That's, I think, a better song than this, but I'll get to that later.
All for the Love of Rock and Roll?
I think that's a great song. I think that's like S rank, actually. I love it.
Wait,
But
his song on the next album was called All for the Love of Rock and Roll after his song on this album was called All for the Glory?
yes.
Oh, did you not know
that's
that?
right.
No,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. You think I do research and pay attention ahead of what's going on for this podcast? Have
I
you
just
listened
forget
to the
that-
words I say?
I just forget that not everyone I communicate with on the internet has an encyclopedic knowledge of Kiss song titles.
Here's the thing. Steve is the only one on this podcast who doesn't have that knowledge. Everyone else does. Speaking of people
Sup,
with
nerds?
Listen to those lyrics, man. It's all about love and longing.
Been like 2 hours since I've done a drop. There's so many people on this episode.
Well, hey, speaking of people with an encyclopedic knowledge of Kiss, Julian, you rank this the Nets lowest. Why do you hate America?
I don't. Really. No, it's just a song that, because there are so many others on here that I like more, that it worked its way down the list. I actually think it's a fantastic song. I love it. I think it should have been done live. I think Eric absolutely does a great job on the vocal. I like the subject matter. I love how it's another Troll song. You kind of alluded to that, Greg, the One for All for One. And starting out with Out on the Streets is a great, again, Troll of the original lineup, and Black Diamond, which of course Peter sang and Eric sings live. But Kiss have never been the Musketeers. It's always been about the glory, and individuals have been discarded as required in the studio and during the journey. But great song. I love it.
And Jamie, you ranked it the Nets lowest, but also we're getting pretty high in the ranking. So Jamie, what are your thoughts on this great, great song?
Yeah, I ranked it second highest. I'd have loved to have seen them play it live on the Sonic Boom Over Europe tour. Not only did I think it was a great song, but I thought it was great to hear Eric sing and lead on an original Kiss tune, because I really like his voice. I thought the solo from Tommy was really good as well. I appreciate that there are lots of digs to Peter here, and kind of subject matter wise, it's probably a little bit of a step to the left for it, but for it to be a kind of real Peter Criss song, what would the subject matter have to be? Kind of gangsters or having a massive dick, or which would it be? But yeah, I think it's a great track. I'd have loved to have hear it live. But yeah, my second favorite track.
If this was a Peter
there's
song, it'd
a-
be about a gangster with a massive dick.
There's another dig at Peter, I feel, in these lyrics where it's mentioned we've paid our dues, right? Because wasn't that something Peter used to rail about? You guys never paid your dues, because he was in bar bands and
I
stuff.
think I do know what you're saying. I think there was something like that.
Oh, this song is absolutely a fuck you to Peter Criss.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who love Peter Criss, Joey, you ranked this pretty high. How do you feel about this fuck you to Peter Criss?
I'm super surprised that you guys ranked it so high too. I thought for sure I was the only one that was going to rank this high, and I have a funny story of almost why I like this song so much. This was actually the first song that I heard off of Sonic Boom. I was actually in LA for the NAMM convention, and my ZO2, we had met up with Paul for lunch one day, and he said, "Hey, you guys want to hear some of the new record?" We were like, yeah. What, are you fucking crazy? Of course we want to hear the new record. So he brought us out to his car with our manager at the time. The three of us, we were a three-piece band, three stupid kids in the back seat of his car with our manager and Paul in the front seat. And Paul starts playing tracks from the new album. And this was the first one that he played us. And he was super, super, super pumped about it and proud of it. And telling us all about Eric's lead vocal, how he couldn't believe how he could sing. And I'm not even a big fan of Eric's vocal on the track, but I just remember that so vividly, sitting in Paul's car like school kids in the backseat, giddy, slapping each other, how we're listening to the new Kiss record. The last Kiss record came out, how many years before that? And we were so giddy. So this song is the first song I heard. So it kind of just sunk really deep into my system. So I think that's why I like it. But I do really believe that it is a good song. Yeah, of course it has all the puns and stuff in it to Peter and all that stuff. But just the actual chorus has such a great hook to it. I just love the song.
And Mike, you gave it the exact same ranking as Joey. Is your story as awesome as his?
Funny you mentioned the story because Joey just literally not only took the wind out of my sails for this podcast or for today, but for probably the rest of my life. Because I have a story in my life that has been very special to me for almost 14 years, and now I just feel like garbage.
No, I'm sure it's as good as Paul Stanley playing the song for you personally in his car.
When Paul was doing Live to Win and Live to Win was coming out, I was fortunate to get an early copy a little bit before it came out, and I was so excited to have it. And then I mentioned my cousin Brian, my fellow, giant Kiss buddy fan. I was like, dude, you got to hear this. I got to get it to you as soon as possible. So we literally met up at this office building that was just about equidistant from where each of us lived. And we sat in the car and listened to the whole album. And I just remember thinking, how cool was it to have an advanced copy of an album by my favorite singer and songwriter of all time, being able to share that with my cousin and someone who's just been with the Kiss journey from day one with me, and just how awesome that is. And then Joey here is like, I got to sit in the car and listen to new Kiss music, with Paul Stanley. So, I mean, that's an awesome story. I adore it. That's so cool. The song itself, I mean, you guys have heard me say ever since my very first podcast in life, which was the Asylum podcast, over and over, that I just like songs that rock and make me feel good, and that is all for the glory. It just makes me feel great. I guess I'm just naive because until today, I never even thought of any of those like negative Peter Criss references. The first one you mentioned with like One for All, like kind of made me smile just because unfortunately that was a very poorly executed song in the album. And then as you guys started piling on the like anti-Peter Criss references, I was like, whoa, come on, like let's slow down. Like I don't need to hate Peter Criss that much. Come on, I just want to love All for the Glory, and I want to love Peter Criss, But yeah, I put the song at number 2 on the album. It's just, I love it. And for me, because I have Dangerous at number 1 and All for the Glory at number 2, like those two songs being back to back on the album is just, I get to that spot on the album and I have to get a change of pants afterward,
Yeah, so I rank this as number 1. I would say this is legitimately a great song, and the way that Steve says that, this would make a really solid 4 or 5 song EP, yeah, maybe that's what Sonic Boom needed to be for me, and I would have had higher opinions over all the material. And so this one, I think, unfortunately, I forget about how great it is because the rest of the album kind of drags it down for me. But yeah, this is a damn good song. Peter is my favorite of the original 4 members of Kiss, so it's weird that my favorite song on this album is the one that just like shits all over him. But hey, it's the best written song. I think Eric Singer gives a great vocal. Jamie's right, that guitar solo is phenomenal. It's just it's well written, hooky. It sounds like a big classic anthem, and I think it got played on ESPN a lot back in the day. It's a damn good song. I love it. I would say this is probably the only song on the album I would say I love and don't really have criticism. It just completely works for me in every way. Yeah, I would say this is maybe the only S-rank song on the album. I love it. Masterpiece.
Hard disagree. I mean, Joey's story is amazing about this, and if I was in that situation, I'd probably have a lot more fond memories attached to this tune. But it's just, yeah, no, I just don't see it in this tune. And also, a minor pet peeve of mine is any song that includes the line "beats like a drum" or reference to hearts beating like a drum. It's just it's my least favorite of the kind of cliched metaphors, and especially for a drummer, to sing that line. It just feels a little weird. Phil Collins does it too in a Genesis tune, and I don't particularly care for that line.
I mean, it's very cheesy, but I think that's another way of just like make it very obvious. Like, this is the drummer singing this track. Ha 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 ha. We're Kiss. We're clever with a K. But yeah, I don't know. I sincerely love this song. I think it's a damn classic. And yeah, the Pot of Thunder guys were wrong shooting the song down. It's great.
Hey, no, they were. I'm wearing my Pot of Thunder beanie at the moment, and I'm now wearing it even more proudly, knowing that they sent that song to hell.
We're at the number 2 song in the ranking. Next up on the list is something that I am not surprised by at all. It's Modern Day Delilah. It's the single.
Yay!
Yay! And there was much rejoicing.
There was much rejoicing. Here's what I'll say about this song. It feels very manufactured, feels very forced. But I will say that video is actually pretty awesome and might be the single best Kiss video in that it encompasses an entire Kiss show in a single, 3.5 minute song where it gets Paul flying over the audience, the fire, the explosions, the hot chicks, catching hot chicks so they don't fall off to their deaths. So, I mean, it's the perfect Kiss video in many ways. The song itself, it's fine, I guess.
Do a lot of hot chicks fall to their death or nearly fall to their death at Kiss concerts?
Remember the Kiss concert we went to?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair.
Did someone fall to their death at that show?
No, there were a couple drunk girls next to us that we kept catching, and then one I had to carry to the restroom because she was so drunk she couldn't walk. And she said she would pee her pants otherwise.
Uh-oh.
But she didn't. So, Joey, you ranked this as number 1. How do you feel about this song?
Well, knowing what is number 1, I'm very disappointed. This was definitely my number 1 song. It's not, to me, it wasn't even close. It was, besides, hearing, All for the Glory and stuff with Paul, this was the first track, obviously, that I heard once I got the CD, and it just kicked off. I had the same sensation like when I heard Psycho Circus for the first time. That track on Psycho Circus to me was perfect. It was so good. Obviously, the rest of the album maybe fell short, but this too, when I put on Sonic Boom, had kind of knew what to expect because I heard some clips from Paul, but didn't know the whole vibe of the album. And when this kicked off, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Because to me, it really feels like a mix between an 80s Kiss song and a 70s. It has the 70s vibe a little bit with the tonage and stuff and the Tommy guitar work, but it still has a little bit of that swagger and harder edge of 80s Kiss. So to me, it was a great song. It's easily my favorite song on the record.
Yeah, and Gavin, you also ranked this as number 1.
Yeah, I agree with everything Joey said. It sets up this kind of false promise that the album then doesn't deliver on, but it's an updated Kiss sound that still sounds classic, and it's a great solid rock song. Paul's kind of high notes. That if I had to criticize one thing in that song, that would be it. But no, it's just, I wish this was still in the set, over, the song that will be number 1, which I'm not surprised the song that is number 1 is number 1, because I get it. Alice Cooper's Poison is a great tune.
Save it for when we get to that song, buddy.
I know. But Modern Day Delilah, yeah, if that one song makes this whole album worth it.
Okay. So Julian, does this one song make this whole album worth it?
Yeah, it's a good song. I mean, it's really fun. For me, anything that makes me grab a guitar when I first hear it because I want to figure out the riff or something kind of passes a test. I love how it's not too complex so even someone like me can play it. I love how the drums follow the riff, and I think Gene and Tommy and Eric's, their background vocals really support Paul properly and appropriately without being too obvious. But there's one thing about this song that absolutely kicks ass, and it's the solo. And the solo, I immediately thought of Ace when he was doing The Oath on Fridays. He does a completely wild solo on that, and this just has the same tone and attack that, I thought it was great execution by Tommy on that. So very cool song, great video like you mentioned. Fittingly, number 2. I can live with that.
I'm so glad that you brought up Ace's solo on The Oath from Fridays, because that's one of my favorite Ace guitar moments is that solo.
Which, of course, was cut from the album.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that live version, I mean, you could tell that Ace is barely hanging on, but he's just going for it, and it's excellent.
But I agree. That solo from Fridays is excellent, and that solo from this song is excellent. Jamie, you ranked this next highest. How do you feel about Modern Day Delilah?
Yeah, I mean, I love the song just for the fact that it's the first new Kiss song that I heard during my fandom. And when I saw them perform it on the Sonic Boom Over Europe tour in Manchester, because they put on, to kind of go back to the whole Kiss, for some reason, aren't that successful in the UK. When they first announced the tour, I think they'd only announced 3 dates in the UK. I think they'd announced the O2 Arena in London. I think they announced a Glasgow date and Manchester. And they all sold out super quick, so they announced loads more shows, which frustrated me because I had to go twice the distance to get to Manchester as I would have to travel to Newcastle. But like my first kind of recollection of seeing this performed live, because it was the set opener, was kind of losing my shit because, the low rumbling, all right, Manchester, you wanted the best, you got the best, explosions everywhere, and they launch into this riff as the hoverboard kind of comes over. But Paul Stanley steps off it, front center stage, microphone there, hits the power chord a fret higher than he should have. So he was a semitone out in comparison to everybody else. Just before, like, the first power chord launched into the first line of the verse, he looks down and starts laughing, so actually misses the first line from laughing, and then kicks in. And it was just so cool to kind of have that moment of seeing kind of Paul fuck up, but laugh at himself for doing it, and then just kind of crack back on with it. But yeah, I think it's a great Kiss song. I think the solo's great. Great riffs. Backing vocals are great. The falsetto on First Mistake is absolutely criminal, though. That should not have made the cut.
So, Steve, you ranked it the next highest. How do you feel about that falsetto?
I don't recall the falsetto specifically. I just remember putting the song on and being like, this sounds like a pretty standard Kiss riff rock song. Wait, I thought most Kiss fans hated this album. This is the exact same cock rock garbage they've been doing for 35 years. And
High
then I
praise.
listened to the rest of the album, and it was that still.
High praise from Steve.
Yeah, it sure is a Kiss song.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like this is the computer algorithm coming up with a Kiss song, and this is what the computer came up with, and it's fine. It's fine, I guess. Mike, you ranked it the lowest. How fine is this song?
Yeah, I mean, I will admit to being the dissenting opinion. I don't hate the song, and I actually just thought Jamie's story was really cool, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be somewhat negative after that cool story. But so yeah, like I said way in the beginning, I was super excited for a new Kiss album. Just couldn't wait to hear stuff from it. I was like refreshing the internet like every hour. Like, is there any Kiss news? So it was really finally cool, and finally they said they were gonna have this new single, Modern Day Delilah, and if I'm not mistaken, they put a clip up of it on Kiss Online. I don't think it was the whole song. I want to say it was maybe like 30 seconds or a minute or something. And I remember hearing it, and I disappointed sounds a little harsh, but I was a little like, oh, weird. That's not quite what I was expecting. I mean, there are definitely those Kiss elements, but it wasn't as Kiss as I was expecting, which is probably why I don't like the song as much as a lot of people. Honestly, I think a lot of Kiss fans tend to overrate the song. It's cool. It's not. When it comes to album openers and stuff, I like a little more up tempo, a little more like rocking and energetic. It's a little bit more like mid tempo. It's an okay song. I just remember like people being like, I remember most people like liking it way more than me, and I remember some people saying something like, like, oh, that's really cool. It's got like these Pearl Jam elements. And I remember being like, but I don't want my new Kiss song to sound like Pearl Jam. I want more Kiss. Probably the coolest thing though was how great that guitar solo is, and a lot of the fans who, I mean, Tommy Thayer, unfortunately, is just like the most hated member of Kiss, and he's just taken a brutal beating now for what, like over 15 years. So to see a lot of people being like, yeah, you know what, Tommy actually really delivered a great solo on this. I felt really happy for him. I'm like, okay, it's his first Kiss album, the first new song. Great solo, and he's actually getting the proper recognition for it. So I think that's a great thing. I mean, I'm glad I've gotten to see the song a couple times live. I do like it. I don't know. I don't connect with it, obviously, as most fans seem to.
You think Tommy gets more shit than Vinny does?
Definitely as a member of Kiss.
Okay.
In terms of Kiss career, I would say easily. In terms of modern, like Vinny's crazy pseudo comebacks and everything, that's debatable. But in terms of their contributions to the band Kiss, people, I mean, there's the whole Vinny saved Kiss thing, whereas Tommy, is a disaster who ruined Kiss, blah, 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 and just all that nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I feel like, Tommy delivers a great solo, but once again, this entire album, knowing his musical ability, like, I really wish he brought more of his unique Tommy-isms to the band, as opposed to just like, I'm really good at pretending I'm Ace. But hey, we're at the number 1 song on the album, so let's go through the ranking from the bottom to the top.
Okay, hey, I get to use another drop.
Yay!
Yay!
Is it the Feist one?
Did you say Feist one?
Feist?
What?
Oh, no.
That joke landed.
Yeah, no, it's the super long one, the vocoder.
Imogen Heap?
Imogen Heap.
We don't need it, Steve. It's okay. Anyway, from the bottom to the top. Russian Roulette. Hot and Cold. I'm an Animal. Yes, I know nobody's perfect. When Lightning Strikes. Nothing But a Good Time. Dangerous. Stand. All for the Glory. Modern Day Delilah. But the best song on Sonic Boom by Kiss, according to this panel of experts and me, is...
No, I jack off really loud.
Poison by Alice Cooper. The best song on Sonic Boom.
Okay, so how many people independently made that same joke about like, well, this is just Alice Cooper?
Well, it's not a joke. It is.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's an observation.
Observational humor. What's the deal with Kiss albums?
Man, this is where we really need like the Seinfeld theme as a drop. Boom, 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 boom. But yeah, Joey, you ranked this at the bottom. How shocked are you that Alice Cooper's Poison won this ranking?
Once again, one of your panels has completely disappointed me.
But this time you got to be here for it.
It's almost every time. I've been listening to a lot of episodes, and I'm loving them. And then by the time we get to the top, I'm like, holy shit, they did it again.
Oh, Joey, why do you think I keep coming back?
I have to keep coming back just to make sure you get one of these right.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Holy God. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's because they force feed us in the set now, or for years now with this song live, or there's just nothing about this song I like, especially the chorus. It's just they try to make you sing it live. It's the most unsingable chorus there is. It's so dull. There's just nothing about this chorus, anything about this song that I even like, especially, again, to go back to the production. It's just not a good track at all. It's almost as bad as Russian Roulette for me.
So I'm going to counter it and stick up for this album against you, Joey, because that's the troll I'm going to do. So the reason I like this song is that the Beatles are my favorite band, and they're just like, hey, let's just steal a hook from a Beatles song and wrap it around this like kind of modern rock song to make it feel epic, like we're calling back to the gods of rock and roll with this grand epic masterpiece. And ultimately, I think the song itself is just okay. The way that Paul Stanley described the writing process and how they kept reworking the song trying to get it right, I think he was on the verge of getting something. And I like the idea of that callback to that Beatles chorus. That's pretty cool. and the song itself is just okay, but because they stole a Beatles hook and then took that Beatles hook and put it over the chorus of Alice Cooper's Poison, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, second. Still not great, but better than the rest of the album.
Did you put this? No, you didn't put this as your number one.
No, I put this as my second place behind the brilliant All for the Glory.
I had this at number 4, beneath Modern Day Delilah, I'm an Animal and Never Enough.
And?
I think we all know what I'm getting at.
Alice Cooper's Poison is a great song.
Yeah.
It's true.
Mike, do you also like Alice Cooper's Poison? Yes, he does. Julian, do you like Alice Cooper's Poison?
Funnily enough, I hate Alice Cooper's Poison and that whole album.
Whoa!
But I do like Say Yeah, and it was my number one pick. But again, it's a Troll song. Troll's ace mercilessly with all that guitar work in the solo. That is just like every little ace riff he's ever done. And any one of his kind of buffet of little twiddly bits rolled into one solo. It recycles Paul's Tonight You Belong to Me, but it's a stage rap that Paul had done for decades. So, I mean, what's better than Kiss writing an anthemic song about a stage rap that Paul Stanley had done for decades? So I think it's brilliant. I also love the doubling of the guitars at the end. So, yeah.
So I'll give you something that's better than that is Tighter Hooks.
I didn't want to overstep Julian since I had missed my turn. I just think it's hilarious that like maybe 3 or 4 times now on this podcast I've missed my cue. Just you happen to keep getting me like every time I step away, but that's on me. I do like Alice Cooper's Poison. That's a great song. Trash is an awesome album. I'm thinking the whole Say Yeah comparison to Poison though is getting overstated. And it just shows that Gavin knows the song Poison way better than he knows Nothing But a Good Time, because the whole Never Enough, Nothing But a Good Time thing is way more there than Say Yeah and Poison.
I agree. That is a very correct statement.
Yeah. And that's, again, Gavin, not shitting on you, man. Just go
I know, yeah.
Go listen to some awesome Poison, you know?
Alice Cooper is a big favorite of mine.
I meant Awesome Poison, the band, but Poison, the song, great, too.
Yeah.
But as for the song, I do disagree with you, Gavin, about like the yeah, yeah, yeah is not being singable. Or was it Joey? One of you said something that's not really very singable live.
Oh, Joey said that.
I did.
Yeah, Joey said that. I think that's pretty easy for pretty much anyone to catch on to, so I get why it's sticking around. I like that it's sticking around, not because I solely need Say Yeah, but when it comes to Kiss and when it comes to pretty much any band I like when their concerts have a wide representation of career representation. Say Yeah to me is a really cool song. Just the whole vibe of it is awesome, and then I really love that breakdown part with like the acoustic guitar and everything. Like, and then there's like the big boom where it kicks back is just like, that just feels like Kiss to me. Like something about that, I don't know what, 20, 30 seconds, maybe not even, of music, almost just like feels like the whole time I've been a Kiss fan wrapped up into a tight little piece of just like anticipation and then like that big hit of excitement. And just want to share a quick funny story just because I enjoy it, and also just to shit on my terrible friend Tommy, especially knowing that our other friend Brian, who also hates Tommy, will be listening to this. We were Greg, I know at least you'll get this reference with Bruce Springsteen's song Outlaw Pete.
A damn classic, a fucking masterpiece of music. One of the best things ever created by humans. Also, it's I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss.
All right. Okay, slow down. It's only a side part of the story, Greg.
Sorry, I love that song.
We were out getting dinner one night or whatever, and Tommy was like, "Oh yeah, have you heard this cool new Bruce Springsteen song?" He goes like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And we were like, "Oh no, cool. Haven't heard that one yet." And he just kept, all night we just kept being like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" Like sort of trying to do Bruce Springsteen impressions. Well, we finally listened to the song, and it's nothing like that. It's "Can you hear me?" I mean, it's just totally different. So he's always just making shit up like this and getting it totally wrong, which is hilarious. And I think he does it kind of to troll. But one night we were out at a bar, and it was shortly after Sonic Boom came out, and we were just we all really liked the album. And he's like, yeah, guys, this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm pretty sure I heard this like modern pop song that rips off Say Yeah. And we're like, no, that didn't happen, Tommy. And he's like, no, I swear it has like the exact same yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're like, no, I'm sure it really didn't. Well, he's like, no, I'll play it on Touch Tunes. Like, I'm sure it did. And it was, if you guys don't know where this is going, it was Grenade by Bruno Mars. So we're listening to the song. We're like, okay. And then sure enough, it's the exact same thing. You know, it's, I'd catch a grenade for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, does anyone know if anyone's like mashed these up on YouTube? That would be highly enjoyable.
I mean, it's the Beatles. She loves you, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get that the Beatles
That's
said yeah.
what it is. That's like what it is. It's a callback to the Beatles, not a callback to Say Yeah from Sonic Boom.
No,
Greg, it's
I'm
the
not
millennial
saying
whoop.
Bruno. I don't think Bruno Mars ever heard Sonic Boom. I'm not saying that. And I know that you like overrate the Beatles, but
Fuck you, sir.
sonically-
Sorry for the visceral fuck you, but I just felt it in my soul. I apologize. I love you, and my friend.
Fuck you for being right, Mike.
But sonically, the yeah, yeah, yeah in Sonic Boom, on Say Yeah and in Grenade are way closer
You
than
mean
like
Sonic Boomly.
Sonic Boomly, exactly. Than the yeah, yeah, yeah in you know, She Loves You, or what's is that the title of the song? And that's not a bad thing. I get that the Beatles did it first, but
And better.
it's a great song. So I'm not.
She
I'm
Loves
not-
You versus Say Yeah. You're really going to go with Say Yeah over She Loves You?
I'm pretty sure that I'd catch a grenade for you, throw my hand on a blade for you line is actually ripped from a different song earlier, too. Sorry, I just got distracted by that.
No, appreciate another tidbit. No, the Beatles. It's a great song. The Beatles are good. It's just like I don't feel like a Beatles conversation right now. Not because I just don't. Not even because I don't like them. They're a good band, but that's all I really need to say about Say Yeah. It's awesome. I would be fine. I would love if they would do a different Sonic Boom or Monster song now, just because they've been doing that one for a while. But you know, it's all gravy, baby.
So,
yeah, I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I'm like this song is okay. Like it's nothing that I'm going to put on of my own choosing, but I know that when I'm at the show and you know I get a beer or two in me, I'll be singing along when Paul motions to us. You know,
High praise. Jamie, you rated this as number one. How did you feel about this masterpiece of ripping off the Beatles and Alice Cooper?
Yeah, I think it's great. Funnily enough, I never picked up on kind of the Alice Cooper thing, but now it is quite obvious that the melody is very similar, but kind of just like Mike just mentioned there. I do remember Bruno Mars's Grenade coming out because I remember the album it came off, Unorthodox Jukebox, being absolutely superb, and I remember enjoying it a lot, but thinking, oh gosh, this hook is exactly the same as Say Yeah. Now, I appreciate we're saying that Bruno Mars can't have been influenced by Sonic Boom, but I don't really know much about weapons because in this country they're all illegal, but I assume that if you throw a grenade, it goes boom. So, like...
That's the those are the instructions.
Well, you know, grenades go boom, Sonic Boom. Do you see where we're going with this? So,
Sonic Boom o' Mars.
Clearly, Bruno Mars heard this Kiss song, went, fuck yeah, Kiss get all the chicks. I want all the chicks. Grenades, Sonic Booms, let's do this.
Because in 2009, nothing was making the ladies melt like Walmart exclusive Kiss release, Sonic Boom.
The ladies of Walmart were melting.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just from the Florida heat.
But yeah, I think it's a great song. I enjoy that it's still in the set. When I saw the End of the Road tour last year, when I saw them play it twice. I enjoyed it both times. I sang along both times. Yeah, that breakdown section with the acoustic guitar is great as well. Yeah, it's just a great song.
All right, well, hey, that is our ranking of Sonic Boom by Kiss, and now comes our wrap-up where we go around the panel and talk if people were happy with the ranking, surprised by it, general thoughts. I'll go first. Am I surprised by the ranking? No. Do I care? Not really. No. This is probably the Kiss album I care the least about. It's just, I don't have strong feelings either way. It's just fine. I wish I liked it more or hated it more. I wish I felt something from it, but instead, it just makes me feel cold and empty. It's fine. Steve, how did you feel about this?
Yeah, it's a Kiss album.
All right, Mike, how did you feel about the ranking?
In terms of the ranking, I'm actually pleasantly surprised because I thought Dangerous was going to get way more shit. Shut up, Jeremiah. I thought that one was going to get more negativity. I was surprised like how poorly Yes I Know did, because I thought that was a lot of people's like first or second favorite song on the album. Oh, I was also very pleasantly surprised with the love for All for the Glory. So definitely the ranking was not what I was expecting, but probably more often preferable to me than not. So that's cool.
And Julian, what were your thoughts on this this ranking, and wrap up thoughts on the album?
Yeah, I thought the ranking was pretty fair and balanced, unlike obviously the Rocky ranking was very contentious. This one seems to be much less so, and I'm sure everyone's happy apart from Joey, which is perfectly fine with me. But unlike you, Greg, I mean, you say this album doesn't mean anything to you. This album does actually mean a lot to me in that it shits all over Psycho Circus, and it corrected what I thought was a historical error, that Psycho Circus could have been the final studio album recorded by the band. And once Sonic Boom came out, that wasn't the case. So I was then able to go back and start listening to Psycho Circus again and starting just to judge it by the music rather than all the drama that surrounded it and later came out about it. So Sonic Boom's a very positive experience for me, and I love all the little trolls that are in this, or all the little nods to different eras of Kiss. It really is like a potpourri of self ripping off.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with Julian just in terms of it was exciting to get Sonic Boom. It was the album that Psycho Circus should have been at the time. It's a better album than Psycho Circus. I like Psycho Circus, but it's cool that it's not the last Kiss album. So great memories of Sonic Boom here as well.
Yeah, I'll say in response to that, and bringing it back to Rocky, where maybe Psycho Circus was Rocky 5. It wasn't the ending that people wanted. But then I wanted a Creed. I wanted the sound to be Creed, and instead I got The Force Awakens. And it's just like not an interesting rehash. Just like, you copied and pasted. That's cool, I guess. Gavin, what were your thoughts on this ranking and this album?
I'm shocked by the. First off, I'm not shocked by the ranking. It kind of. I figured it would either be Modern Day Delilah at the top, which okay. I'm really weirded out by all the dislike of I'm an Animal. I thought that was one of the better tracks on the album.
Mr. Pasticcio Medley, you're full of shit.
Do any of the non-Smashing Pumpkins panelists know of the? Well, I guess why would anyone outside of Smashing Pumpkins geeks know of the 20-minute weird little sound thing that they made called the Pasticcio Medley?
I literally only know of it because it came up on a previous podcast, and I just kept thinking of pistachios, which I don't think that much. But
yeah, so Pasticcio, it's like a 25-minute collection of riffs mastered at different volumes, just leftovers that were incomplete songs. They stuck at the end of a box set, and Gavin did not rank that at the bottom of our ranking at that box set. Because he's full of shit.
There was a shitty cover of My Blue Heaven on there.
That was a great cover of My Blue Heaven.
Oh, suck it.
But anyway, yes, aside from your pasticcio bullshit with I'm an Animal.
I would have been totally fine with Psycho Circus being the last Kiss album, because that would have been Kiss going out, trying something new and trying to forge new ground, even if it was faulty and kind of collapsed under them.
Forging the new ground of doing Destroyer again?
Well,
and the Elder.
Yeah, and the Elder, and
also they added Clowns.
Yeah, to liken it to Star Wars, if Psycho Circus is The Last Jedi, then Sonic Boom and Monster are The Rise of Skywalker.
You know what? That is so true, and that's yeah.
Hastily, yeah. Sonic Boom and Monster feel like hastily put together J.J. Abrams trying to, fix perceived wrongs from the last movie that were actually intense strengths.
I want to give you a hug right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, Last Jedi is easily in my top 3 Star Wars movies.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh! Are we about to open this
I
can of worms right now?
I inserted an edit point to clear out that cough. I assumed that was an accident.
No, we all know how Greg hates coughs on recordings.
No, that was no accident.
I feel like it's Joey wants to refute that and give his thoughts on the ranking and The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi is
like
the Rocky
many...
3 of.
Whoa! I'm gonna have to hang up now.
The Last Jedi is the Star Trek 2 of Star Wars.
You mean it's the Star Trek 4 and that it's the best one?
No, Star Trek 2 is the best one. Star Trek 4 is the second best one.
But I've only seen Star Trek.
Oh, you should see 2. It's
Jesus Christ!
I think I've only seen 5 and 6, and all the crossover
you guys have
ones.
Done over and over to me this week. The lipstick panel has completely disappointed me.
You weren't a Last Jedi fan?
No, not at all. I thought it was really bad. I think
a complete cinematic failure.
It just shit on everything that they tried to set up in Force Awakens. Which whether they were right or wrong things that they were trying to set up, they basically just null and voided all of it. For me, anyway, that's how I felt about it. I didn't think. I mean, cinematically and in direction wise, I thought it was a good movie. But I think plot wise and how they glossed over some stuff just literally just shit on the movie before it. It made no sense to me. Why take all that time and set up this arc or these numerous arcs and then just completely throw them out the window? Anyway,
I think it shat on bad things from the previous movie.
I mean,
Rise of Skywalker shat on the good things that Last Jedi did, and Last Jedi shat on the bad things that Force Awakens did.
I mean, yes, that is all correct. But we've been here for a while, so let's get Joey to get his thoughts on this and the ranking.
Well, much like Rocky 3, much like Last Jedi, yes, having Say Yeah at the top of this list really hurts me. I had a feeling it was going to be high. I didn't think it was going to be number 1. I figured we all would agree on Modern Day Delilah. I really thought that was the strongest track by far. And but just as an album overall, I thought when it first came out, I think I really loved it. And I remember being really excited that, Kiss kind of went back to the roots, even though it never sounded sonically good to me. I thought Kiss captured something that they were missing, and it just hasn't lived up to that thought process all these years later. I think I never find myself going to this record, and even less find myself going to Monster, I think. And even more so than that, I think they even dropped the ball on the covers of these 2 records. I thought they could have really captured something. I think the guy who did Rock and Roll Over designed the cover for this, right?
Yeah, and it feels like he just popped into Photoshop, put a filter on their faces, and it just feels lazy, and it's a terrible album cover.
Perfectly said. It's so lazy. I mean, Monster's lazy too. Monster's just a photo shoot cover. It's so lazy. They could have gone all out and
at least Monster was a cool photo. This feels like I did this in my Photoshop class in 10th grade and got a C.
Yeah, even that, just overall, I think I after all these years, I'm disappointed in the record. I like the effort, and I would rather have the album than not have it, if you're asking me that. But overall, I'm disappointed in it.
There's something interesting about that cover that you just mentioned, Joey. That it was pretty lame, considering it was the same guy who did the Rock and Roll Over cover. I think the big difference was in 1976, they hired him to do a cover, and in 2009, Paul Stanley told him how to do a cover.
Good. You know what? You're probably right. Yep, you're right.
And so, Jamie, what are your thoughts on that shitty album cover and this ranking in the album?
Yeah, the album cover art is really shit, isn't it? As somebody that collects records, not quite a lot of my record collection, but there are a number of records in there that I have bought just for the sake of how cool the album art is. However, if I wasn't a Kiss fan and I came across this, it wouldn't be something that I bought because, yeah, like you've mentioned, it just like how the album in the press release states that it harks back to this analog way of recording, and the album art's very much trying to go back to the original 70s artist. Really, they're both just crap digital jobs.
Agreed.
Ouch.
All right, well, that is our ranking. Excellent guess. Where can we find you on the internet? Plug your stuff, Joey.
You can find me on all social media at Joey Cassata, JoeyCassata. All my happenings, where you can find my gigs, any products that I'm releasing, my autobiography, all that stuff's on all my pages.
Oh, come on, it's his first time. Give him the good applause.
I have no control over this, Greg. It's random.
I know, and that's why I'm saying keep doing it till we get the good applause. Jamie, we just heard some of your excellent music before the podcast. Where can people find you and your music?
And your amazing kick drum tone.
Which he's the producer on and deserves credit for. Everyone stop shitting on Steve in the thread for complimenting his production.
Yeah, because as we all know, if you produce a Grammy-winning song, you yourself have a Grammy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's a niche reference there, isn't it? Not to us, obviously. We all get that.
I was going to say,
Julian more than most.
Jesus,
but yeah, Jesus indeed. I'll make sure I don't ask any questions about that at the meet and greet in May. I can be found at all of my band's pages. My band are called Be Quiet, Shout Loud. We have a new single coming out on the 20th of March that will be available on all of the streaming services called Till the Weekend Comes Round Again, which is the track that the gorgeous chaps have just been mentioning there. Check it out. I'm single-handedly trying to bring guitar solos back because they deserve to be back.
Gavin, where can people find your band with shockingly good drum production? Because I'm not into the avant-garde scene, but your drums sound really good.
You can find me at, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Bent Knee Music. That's the band that I am in and play drums for. This album, this episode's probably coming out just after the Shiny Eyed Babies episode, right?
I don't know. I have to look at the schedule and see what's most optimal for getting download.
Yeah. So we may or may not have already kind of dissected one of my band's albums on this show. So therefore, you may have no interest in evoking horrible memories. You can find me there.
Check them out.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. I'm just messing with you, Greg. I love you.
I'm messing with you. But seriously, your drum production did sincerely impress me. Like, the drums don't sound clicky. Thank God.
Well, thank you. That's our producer, Vince Welch, who is also in the band. But yeah, you can find me there. We're going on tour in April, mainly the East Coast of the U.S. Then, we're doing some festival dates in the UK. We'll be at Arctangent and 2000 Trees. Other than that, I'm around. So, let's hang out or whatever. Yeah.
Julian, where can people find you on the internet and your book about Sonic Boom?
There'll never be a book about that album, but you can find me at KissFAQ.com and check out our new podcast, Look, It's Rock and Roll.
Look, it's rock and roll. Let me see if we can get that one.
Look, it's rock and roll.
Hey!
Mike, where can people find you on the internet? Or wait, Mike, what do you want to plug this week? Because you don't want people to find you.
It's the opposite of me wanting people to find me. It's they don't want to find me. I'm a worthless piece of shit that no one wants to associate with. I am on Facebook as Mike Walsh.
What's your Twitter handle, Mike? I'm going to follow you right now.
I have one technically. It's probably like MKWalsh84. I don't know. I don't use Twitter. It's not a very good social media platform. But you could find me, I guess.
You can find Mike on many episodes of The Lipstick Panel.
I have been very gladly doing the Lipstick Panel since the Asylum album, which is one of Kiss's best albums. I have missed a couple, but for the most part, I very happily have been a recurring guest. If you're ever in the Chicago area, no joke, I'd love to take you guys to this cool heavy metal burger place called Kuma's Corner and just hang out or something. So yeah, Gavin, if you're ever on tours, I mean, Jamie, if you get your band over to the States, I would hang out with you, man.
Mike, you should plug Fump Fest in August in Chicago. Then we can hang out there.
All right, so apparently there's a thing called Funk Fest in Chicago.
Fump, funny music project.
Fump Fest. Apparently there's a thing called Fump Fest coming up in Chicago that Steven likes. So check that out if you like fumping. So cool.
I'll be in Chicago on April 10th.
Honestly, man, if you have time with your busy touring schedule, let's try
we should hang out. Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, good.
Let me know when you're playing and stuff. Yeah,
definitely.
And I actually will be up in Chicago in a couple months, and I will talk to you about that off the microphones later.
Cool.
That sounds ominous.
It is ominous. So, Steve, where can people find us on the internet?
Oh, do we cover everybody already? All right. They can find us at lipstickgeneration.com and wherever fine Lipstick Generation products are sold.
That's our episode. Bye, internet.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Lipstick Panel, hosted by Lipstick Generation. Lipstick Generation's music can be found on all major streaming platforms and at lipstickgeneration.com. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your ranking of the subject in the comments down below. Feel free to leave us an episode suggestion also. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, please leave a review and tell a friend about our show. Thanks and rock on.